Test 1, 2.
Cost of something, the factory.
Oh, I suppose so, yeah, but it also costs the sales, won't it? And you know, that won't just be over Christmas, will it?
Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Mike Lilly, I'm the Chair for this evening's committee. To begin the meeting, there are a few matters of housekeeping. Action in the event of an emergency. There are no practice alarms planned for this evening, so if an alarm sounds, please evacuate the Town Hall by going down the main staircase or the back staircase to the High Street and then to the car park behind the Town Hall in St Romwell Street. Although tonight the fire engine will probably get stuck in front of that broken down car that's down there tonight. Anyway, this meeting is being live streamed to the Council's YouTube page and will be available after the meeting. Please would speakers use microphones at all times and speak directly into the microphone, and would participants please mute their microphone when not speaking. Introductions. Members of the committee and officers will now introduce themselves, starting from my left.
Good evening, everyone. Councillor Lynn Barton, Shrub End Ward.
Councillor Mike Hodgson, Ansden, St John's Ward.
Councillor Robert Davidson, Mersey and Pyfleet Ward.
Martin Warnes, Beerchurch Ward.
Councillor Sam McCarthy, representing Shrub End Ward.
Sam McLean, Newtown Christchurch.
Councillor Carl Powling, Mersey and Pyfleet Ward.
Councillor Tate for Prettygate Ward.
Nadine Calder, Principal Planning Officer.
James Ryan, Planning Manager.
Robert Carmichael, Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you. Members of the committee may use electronic devices to access their meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them to silent, and do not use voice or camera flash functions. We will have a break at 7:30, if it's appropriate, but probably be over by then. There are toilets on every floor in the building and an induction loop in this room. Whilst determination of a planning application is not a quasi-judicial process, unlike certain licensing functions carried out by the local authority, it is a formal administrative process involving the application of national and local policies, reference to legislation and case law, as well as rules of procedure, rights of appeal, and an expectation that people will act reasonably and fairly. All involved in these decisions should remember that the possibility that an aggrieved party may seek a judicial review and or complain to the Ombudsman on grounds of maladministration or a breach of the authority's code. Item 2, substitutes. Any substitutes?
I'm substituting for Roger Mannion, Tiptree Ward.
You noted, and I think that we all send our best wishes to Roger on a speedy recovery from his recent operation. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Any councillors with declarations of interest? No, if anything comes up during the meeting, you just mention it if you think about something. Item 4, urgent items. There are no urgent items. Item 5, have your say. If anyone has a petition they wish to present, we talked about this earlier, to be on any of the items on the agenda this evening, please do so now. One day there will be. Item 6, the minutes. We have no minutes for the meetings, all done. Item 7, we now go through the applications. We have one application for this evening. That's 7.1, land to the rear, 3 Highfield Drive in Colchester. It's recommended for approval, subject to conditions. Presenting officer will be Nadine Calder. And we have public speaking against Chris Taylor and public for Michael Smith, who's the agent. No visiting councillors, but Councillor Willits has asked us to note his comments that he's previously made and wish those to be taken into consideration. That's right. Okay, so now we move on to the applications, and I'll move over to Nadine to present the case, please. Over to you, Nadine.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This application relates to land to the rear of 3 Highfield Drive in Colchester and is for the demolition of a garage, the relocation of existing parking spaces and the creation of a 2-bedroom bungalow. The application site is outlined in red, with the remaining land owned by the applicant and the donor property number 3 outlined in blue. The site is located towards the end of a private drive called Highfield Drive, with the access of Lexton Road being to the south of the site. It's an existing access with no changes being proposed to it. This is the proposed site plan showing the bungalow, which is an L-shaped bungalow to the rear of number 3, 2 parking spaces in front of it and 2 parking spaces for number 3 in front of number 3. Here we've got the elevations. The front of the dwelling would face north towards Highfield Drive, and the floor plan which shows a 2-bedroom bungalow with all amenities. And this is an indicative street scene taken from the north of the site, facing Highfield Drive with number 3 to the right. It's indicative only, but showing how it would fit in with the existing site. I'm going to show you a few photos from the site. This is the existing garage, a double garage belonging to number 3 with some paving to the front of it. To the right, you see number 3, the donor property and a piece of land in front of it, which on the proposals map is allocated as a private open space. Here we see the site again, and members will remember from previous committee meetings that this site is an important open area which the council would like to see being improved. So this application not only includes the construction of a bungalow, but it also includes a condition which requires a landscape management plan for this area to tidy up the site, which is believed to bring public benefits to the wider area. Here is a view of that site again, with the garage just about visible in the background where the bungalow is proposed. And these are photos of the front of number 3 Highfield Drive, where the parking spaces are proposed. And these are photos of numbers 1 and 2 Highfield Drive, where there is already frontage parking present. This is the existing access of Highfield Drive, of Lexton Road. Again, it's existing and no changes are proposed. Some of you will remember that there have been numerous attempts at a dwelling being created on that site. There have been 6 attempts, but they are materially different to what you've got in front of you today. So what you've got here is the most recent application, which was in front of you in February this year, where the dwelling, a 2-storey dwelling, was proposed to the north of number 3 on that area of land which I've just shown you, which the council considers to be important in terms of its amenity value to the surrounding area. So the difference from all previous attempts is that the house was proposed on this area of land to the north of number 3, whereas the current proposal is for this land to remain open and the bungalow to go where the existing garage is. But just for consistency, I'm just going to show you previous attempts. So this was the most recent one. Then we've had an application in 2021. Again, the house is to the north of number 3. And the same goes for 2 applications in 2014, where either a bungalow or a 2-storey house was again to the north of number 3. And here you can see a comparison of the layout with all applications made in the last 10 years. So this is the current application with a bungalow proposed to the rear of number 3, with this area of land being open, and all previous attempts have a house or a bungalow to the north of number 3. All previous attempts were refused by the council, and where there were appeals, they were dismissed at appeal. Whereas this current application, here again a site plan just in colour to give you a bit more context, this application is considered to be materially different to all previous attempts, mainly because it provides a bungalow to the rear of number 3, which is policy compliant in all aspects, and most importantly, as a public benefit. There will be a condition and an opportunity for the area of open land, which has been considered important in terms of the visual amenity of the site, to be tidied up. And for that reason, we have got a recommendation for approval, subject to the signing of a unilateral undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move to the public speaking. So public against first. Could we call Chris Taylor first, please? I think you've been here before, Chris. 3 minutes. The bell will go after 2 and the clock will start when you start speaking.
Over 13 years, the applicant's various plans for a new dwelling have all been rejected, including by the Secretary of State, who, along with the Council, recognise the importance of this unique, open and airy lane. There is a reason many planning committees and Secretaries of State have refused any development on this site. It's because a number of the planning applications have appeared to be submitted with no intention to build as per the application. The extensions to number 3 approved and lapsed, 3 garages, etc. Highfield Drive is a secluded wooded lane. The corner site has been significantly reduced in order to squeeze a bungalow at the end. The proposed development would result in a cramped form of development that would harm the character, quality and appearance of the area. The proposal would also result in a rear garden of very limited size and no garage for both the proposed development and number 3 Highfield Drive, compared to the more generous plots of the other properties in the lane, thus changing the character of Highfield Drive and reducing the very quality which makes this an attractive living environment. It would be discordant with its context and fails to enhance the attractive and tranquil character of the area. The plans are contrary to the following. DM19, the infill development unacceptably reduces the level of private amenity space by over 75%. DM15, the proposed development does not respect or enhance the character of the site or surroundings. It does not positively integrate the existing building environment and other landscape. DP1, the development does not respect and enhance the character of the site or landscape setting. Highfield Drive is a private road that is already receiving more traffic than planned for, and any new development creates additional traffic. The Council has previously refused vehicle access over the lane to 9 Sussex Drive to protect this lane from the dangers of further traffic. The site was a pleasant garden until the applicant fenced it off, removed all amenities and allowed it to deteriorate. It set a very dangerous precedent to incentivise applicants to purposely cause an area to reach this state in support of a planning application. The applicant has recently, and not for the first time, refused to contribute to the costs of the upkeep of the road, which all other residents pay their fair share for as per their deeds. By already not adhering to the title deeds to maintain the lane, we feel the applicant cannot be allowed to build an additional property on this private road to which the applicant does not contribute. Finally, it's important to note that the property boundary has been changed by the applicant, taking part of the turning circle at the end of the lane to give an appearance of a larger plot size, evidence previously submitted. The applicant's own planning submission from 2010, compared to that in 2023, highlight the altered boundary. Please refuse permission for this development once again. To quote a previous refusal, I consider the principle of erecting any new development, regardless of its size or design, on the appeal site would like to harm the character, quality and appearance of the area.
Thank you. For public speaking 4, you have Michael Smith, the agent, please. So it's the same for you, Michael. 3 minutes and the bell go after 2. The clock will start when you start speaking.
Thank you, Chair, and on behalf of the applicant, thank you for the opportunity to address the committee this evening. The wider site has a long history of applications, refusals and dismissed appeals for schemes to place a house on the corner of the street, sitting alongside the existing house at number 3. In fact, I was here earlier this year to speak in favour of one of the applications, which was refused. The scheme presented to you this evening does not propose a new home on the corner of the street. Understanding why the earlier schemes were not acceptable was the key to preparing the new proposal for the site, and care has been taken to ensure that any impact on the character of the street and on the quality and appearance of the area is successfully addressed. The principle of keeping the street corner open and retaining the positive contribution it makes to the visual amenity of the surrounding area is respected, and instead, a 2-bedroom bungalow is proposed to be added at the end of the street, replacing the existing double garage at the bottom of the garden to number 3. No changes are proposed to the turning area at the end of the street, and space for parking in front of the garage is retained and used to serve the new home. The parking for number 3 is relocated to the front of the existing house, so that provision matches what is already in place and is safely used by numbers 1 and 2 Highfield Drive. Similarly, splitting the back garden of number 3 has been designed to ensure that the required amount of amenity space is still delivered for both the existing and the proposed new property, and the new division between them is hidden from view so it can't be seen from the street. Perhaps most importantly, I must emphasise the proposed scheme doesn't just leave the empty space to the side of number 3, but provides for the open area to be landscaped and to be maintained in the future as part of the edge of the public realm, and to improve the visual amenity as what is considered to be an important element of the character of the street. This is a benefit that wasn't available to the previous schemes that proposed to build a house on the land. Instead, and at the end of the street, a straightforward L-shaped building is proposed, presenting a symmetrical elevation to the street and displaying elements of Victorian detailing to match its neighbours. These include red brick walls, a hip grey roof, and its topped by a chimney. The scale of the building is small, fitting into the space occupied by the double garage and keeping the height low by proposing a bungalow. It's intended that, from the street, the new home looks like it might have been converted from an existing building. Of course, I must also add the proposed bungalow is in a highly sustainable location, well within walking distance of the city centre, an easy bike ride through quiet residential streets to the services on the east side of Colchester, and served by the multitude of bus routes that run along Lexton Road. The site's outside Lexton's conservation area, and there are no objections from any statutory consultees, including the Highways team at Essex County Council, and conditions are recommended to pick up the detailed issues such as archaeology, tree protection and working hours. To conclude, planning policy seeks a positive response to the character and the context, which is what's proposed by the scheme. The policies also seek architectural quality and enhancement of the public ground, which was missing before but is now proposed. Existing amenity is protected and negative impacts are designed out, leading to a high quality scheme which is, for the first time, in accordance with the standards set by the local plan. Most importantly, the new proposal is materially different to the previous schemes and includes the retention of the landscape corner and secures measures to enhance it. It's a scheme which should be approved, therefore I ask that you concur with the case officer's recommendation and resolve to grant planning permission.
Thank you very much. Nadine, there's a few points on there. One is there's no objections from the highway, I take it. And this is different to anything else that's been proposed before, because before it was going to be placed on the land. This, I believe, is going to be placed on the side of the 2 garages. So we can't really take on account anything the inspectors have said before. Is that correct?
It is correct to a certain point. What I would say is one of the comments that the objector has made is that where the inspector said that the principle of erecting any new dwelling, regardless of its size or design, is unacceptable. That applied to the corner element. That wasn't, because they didn't assess the current application, so that is not something that sets a precedent for the whole site. In terms of traffic, no objection was raised from the Highway Authority, mainly because it is a private lane, so they don't object to that. But where the previous attempts are material considerations, it's still one dwelling that this seeks permission for. And the appeal decision before said one additional dwelling would not lead to an increase in additional traffic or congestion that would justify dismissal of the appeals. None of the previous applications were refused on highway grounds. In this instance, the relocation of the house from the corner plot to the garage doesn't materially affect this conclusion. So in my professional opinion, I don't think there should be a highway refusal, but that is the main reason why this application is before you, because Councillor Willits called it in on highway grounds. But that's why I mentioned in my presentation, no changes are made to the access off Lexton Road, and and within the site it is acceptable in terms of highway considerations, and there's no objection from the Highway Authority, and previously it wasn't refused on that basis, so we do not consider this to be a reason for refusal. I do sympathise with objectors, and we do not want to see a precedent in untidy land, but there is legislation that allows the council to intervene when there is untidy land. This land clearly has deteriorated over time. I have seen it myself over the past year or two when I have done my site visits. It is not something that we encourage or say, yes, go on and we give you a house. But in this instance, there is an opportunity to tidy up that land. And that is a benefit to the wider area. So it's a public benefit. I wouldn't say it's a precedent though, because there is legislation for us to intervene if we need to. The ownership, one of the photos I showed you is that there is pavement in front of the garage. So ownership is not a planning matter. We can't go into the details of ownership. If there are any issues, then residents could take that up with the applicant. But there is scope. The area in contention on the proposed plans is shown to be laid to grass. If there was any contention between neighbours, there may be scope to address this and keep it as a turning area if it needs to be. But this is outside of this application process because it relates to ownership. And based on the plans we have received from the applicant, we believe that the correct procedures have been followed. And that is probably as much as I can say at this point. Thank you.
That's fine, thank you. Because we received an email today from Mr. Taylor talking about the ownership of the land. So if it's clear, and if the owners of the land, the private drive, if they believe there's an issue, then they have to take that up separately from the planning authority.
That's
this
correct.
Is a private one. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Chair. So yeah, I just clarified this with the applicant, who said they are sure that they are in ownership of the land. They've correctly served notice on that in that respect. So we have clarified that, and we have to take that face value ultimately. If there is a civil matter of land ownership, as you say, that's a private matter they'll have to take up themselves. Thank you.
It's unfortunate, but there we are. That's the law. Over to Councillor Powling. Welcome to the Planning Committee. No leaders on screen.
Just a couple of things. With the properties there before, did all of them have did they have a garage as well as the cars parking in front of them, or were they just parked in front? The second thing is with the drive, when they're building this property, they're going to have some big lorries or machinery go down there on that lane. Could there be if it is going to prove a condition put in by planning that they have to make sure that road does not deteriorate, because lorries and deliveries will do a lot more damage than a standard car. So could conditions be put on that the applicant will have to make proper or maintain the road to a decent standard, because any machinery would put a lot more stress on any access down to there. Because I'm a bit confused on the fact is it's saying it's private, but it's public. So can the public just walk down there? So I'm getting a bit confused on how can it be private and public amenity? The public can we all go and then camp on that garden? Am I just misreading something here? The main thing is the access. Or visual. Thanks, Martin.
Sorry, we addressed things for the chair and this committee. Yeah, it's a private drive owned by some of the owners of the houses down there, and I think they pay to maintain themselves. But you do make a good point. Nadine, can we do such a condition on a private drive like that? But probably a good one in this instance.
Can you give me a moment to think about that?
Okay, we'll come back to the one. Over to Lynn.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, you're right. We have heard this application several times, but this time there's a significant difference in that it's put forward for officer approval, and that has never happened every time we've heard this application. And I do feel the applicant's actually listened to what planners wanted and has greatly amended the application. The open space was one of the main features that worried the committee. That has now been sorted very satisfactorily, actually. We were worried about the streets, well, I wasn't, but other people were worried about the streetscape being compromised by having the additional property on the end. That has been eliminated by moving the property back. So I do feel, as been said, it's in a sustainable location. There are no highways objections, despite what Councillor Willetts keeps saying every time we have this application. There are no worries, concerns from highways. So I would suggest that we actually tonight accept the officer's recommendation for approval. Thank you, Chair.
And is that a proposal?
Yes.
We'll take that as a proposal. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Warnes. If we can move back to Nadine, have we got an answer to Councillor Barry?
Yes, so just to clarify private road. A private road is a highway unless it's gated and it's truly private, a truly private piece of land owned by one or more parties. More often these private roads are simply unadopted roads. So because it's not gated, you can walk down, but it's just a term. So it just basically means the highway authority is not responsible for the maintenance of that land. You and I can walk down, but having said that, what we could do is we could condition a road condition survey. So the applicant would have to undertake a condition survey of the road before they do works, and when the works are finished, and then any damage they would have caused, they would need to repair within a certain time frame. If members were minded to do that, we could add a condition for that.
Could I agree with Lynn and put that in as well, that condition, please, Chair?
So are you happy with what Nadine has said, that the condition should be added?
Yeah, but like I say, because the machinery down there, I think, would make the road even worse. So if that could be done and they keep the road to the same or better condition. Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we can so we do a survey first, so we know the condition of the road now, and then if anything happens, we can do that. Councillor.
Just something I just want to check is your proposal for approval, does that include the condition that they must, make good that corner plot? So I'd like that added. The corner of the grassed area. It does include that, right? Lovely, good.
Yes, to clarify, there is a condition on there where they have to, prior to commencement of any works, they have to submit a scheme of landscape works to us for that piece of land, and we have to agree that, and then that needs to be discharged. So we need to agree that, and then they can commence works.
Thank you. Any more speakers? Councillor Warnes was ready to move to the vote.
Yeah, just out of information really, I note that it's 250 feet away from what was thought to be a former Roman cemetery. So when we drawed up the archaeological conditions, are they just standard conditions, or would something more need to be done because of the proximity? Because it was a cemetery. So obviously we may not know what the boundaries are specifically because it's 2,000 years ago. So I just wonder whether there's any extra considerations to cover anything that we may not have thought through that may well appear.
Thank you. It's a standard condition, but the works that need to be undertaken obviously will depend on what is found and how that is dealt with. So we have put the normal standard condition in, and then that they need to do a written scheme of investigation that will be reviewed by our archaeological consultant, and then they need to do site monitoring as well. So we put the same condition on every site, no matter where it is. It does cover all events.
Yes, so Robert is now going to read the extra condition out, and if the proposer and seconder are happy with it, we'll then move to the vote. Robert?
Thank you, Chair. So the additional condition would be that a road condition survey is undertaken prior to the development, and that a further survey is undertaken prior to completion of the development, and that any works that need to be undertaken based upon those surveys of any remedial works would be undertaken. If that's appropriate, Chair. Sorry, if I go to James, sorry, just to check he's happy with.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, that sounds absolutely fine. We would want the condition survey to be undertaken by appropriately qualified highway engineer or something of that ilk, and we would want to make sure that what we can't do is improve the road beyond the point at which the damage. We can only require any damage that's been caused to be repaired. We can't force the applicants to go beyond that and resurface the entire road, for example, because that would not be mitigating the impact of this development. So we want to make sure that this development is mitigated. We want the condition survey to be prior to commencement development. Prior to the commencement development, we need a condition survey, and we want the post-completion condition survey to be with us and signed off by us prior to occupation, alongside a time scale of how long it's going to take to get that repair work done. But we can word you a condition that will be effective and will have the relevant triggers in that. Thanks very much.
Thank you, James. Okay, proposed nod from Martin. You both happy with that? So we'll now move to the vote. All those in favour of approval, subject to the conditions and ones added, please show their hands.
That is unanimous, Chair.
That is unanimous. And that concludes the meeting for this evening. Thanks everyone for turning up, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year if I don't see you before. Thank you.